A lead auditor walks into the sleek, glass-walled lobby of a major logistics firm in Mumbai, carrying nothing but a laptop, a notebook, and a very critical eye. The opening meeting is not just a polite chat, it is the most important first impression of the entire audit. In ISO terms, this is the audit entrance, where you establish scope, timeline, and communication channels. Simply put, you are setting the stage to ensure everyone knows exactly what you are going to look at and what you are not going to look at. You have probably seen auditors who walk in and act like police officers, creating immediate tension. That is a mistake. A true professional sets a tone of collaboration. You are there to verify, not to terrify. I remember an audit early in my career where I failed to clearly define the scope of the AI system, and I ended up wasting 3 days auditing the company's cafeteria software instead of their core AI demand forecasting model. Lesson learned: be crystal clear about what is in and what is out right from the first minute. So now that we have mastered the art of the initial walkthrough and defining the boundaries, you might be wondering how we actually gather the proof we need once the doors are open. Well, that brings us right into our next step, which is the gathering of audit evidence. Imagine you are looking at an AI-driven credit scoring system at a bank in Delhi. The manager tells you, "Oh yes, our system is perfectly fair." That statement is worth exactly zero in an audit. Evidence, by definition, is objective, verifiable information that supports the existence or truth of a requirement. In simple words, if you cannot see it, touch it, or read it, it didn't happen. You need to see the logs, the training datasets, the bias testing reports, and the meeting minutes where risks were discussed. Stay with me here. I often see auditors get sidetracked by good stories from managers. Do not fall for the story. If a manager claims they test for bias, ask them to show you the last 3 reports from those tests. If they can't produce the files, the control doesn't exist. This is where your ability to cross-reference comes in. You are essentially playing detective, matching what the company says they do with what they actually do. So, now that we've mastered the habit of prioritizing hard evidence over verbal promises, you might be wondering how to interview the people behind these systems without making them sweat. Well, that brings us right into our next step, which is conducting effective interviews. You sit down with a lead data scientist at a tech startup in Bangalore who is clearly nervous. They are worried their answer will cause the company to lose its certification. If you come at them with a sharp tone, they will shut down and you will never get the truth. The definition of an effective audit interview is a structured dialogue designed to elicit accurate information about the management system. Simply put, it is a conversation, not an interrogation. Use open-ended questions like, "Can you walk me through what happens when the AI model identifies an anomaly?" instead of, "Does the AI work correctly?" Notice the difference? The first invites them to show you their process. The second just invites a yes or no answer. I have found that the most important information is often found in the gaps, the moments when someone says, "Well, usually we do it this way, but sometimes." That is your lead. That is where you dig deeper. So now that we have mastered how to hold a productive conversation that uncovers the real process, you might be wondering what to do when you find a piece of the puzzle that just doesn't fit. Well, that brings us right into our next step, which is identifying and documenting non-conformities. You are auditing a manufacturing plant in Pune and you find a critical AI-controlled robotic arm that hasn't been calibrated for safety in over a year. The standard explicitly requires periodic review and maintenance. This is a non-conformity, a failure to meet a requirement of the standard. To an auditor, this isn't a disaster, it is a data point. When you write up a non-conformity, you must be precise. You don't just say the system is broken. You state the requirement, you provide the evidence of the failure, and you keep it objective. The organization failed to produce calibration logs for the AI safety system for the period of January to June, which violates requirement 8.2. It is very similar to a doctor's diagnosis. You need to name the symptom clearly so the patient knows how to fix it. If you are vague, the company will never understand what they need to change. You are helping them become better, not just listing their sins. So now that we've mastered the art of documenting failures without being accusatory, you might be wondering how we help the company turn those failures into success stories. Well, that brings us right into our next step, which is reporting and corrective action. A retail giant in Chennai was caught in an audit for not having a formal process to handle AI generated customer complaints. We identified this as a non-conformity. Now, the company needs a corrective action plan. This is the formal process of removing the cause of a non-conformity to prevent it from recurring. In simple words, it is the fixing the leak phase. I want to see the root cause analysis. Don't just tell me you retrained the staff. Tell me why the staff didn't know the process in the first place. Was the policy missing? Was it hidden in a folder nobody reads? Was it never communicated? As a lead auditor, you are evaluating their problem solving skills. I have seen companies that just put a band-aid on a problem and sure enough, the same issue pops up in next year's audit. We are looking for structural permanent fixes. When they can show you a process that actually changes their behavior, you know you have a successful management system. So now that we have mastered the cycle of fixing the broken pieces, you might be wondering how we wrap this up and present our findings to the leadership team. Well, that brings us right into our next step, which is the audit closing meeting. The audit is coming to an end in a high-rise office in Kolkata. You are facing the senior leadership team. This is the closing meeting, where you summarize your findings, acknowledge the strengths, and highlight the areas needing improvement. This is where your credibility is truly tested. You must be firm about the gaps you found, but fair about the work the organization has accomplished. You are summarizing the entire audit, the evidence, the interviews, the non-conformities, and the corrective plans. You shouldn't be dropping any surprises. If you found a major problem, you should have already discussed it with them during the process. The closing meeting is a summary of the journey, not a tribunal. You leave them with a clear path forward. You are not just a checker of boxes, you are the one who helps them define their road to excellence. You walked through the entrance, gathered the facts, talked to the teams, diagnosed the issues, helped them plan the fixes, and now you are handing them the keys to a stronger, more resilient future. You have reached the end of the walkthrough, and you now have the mindset to tackle any certification audit that comes your way.